Hi everybody and welcome to the Jess plus Scott plus you show. Tonight, those of you who watched the video before our conversation has started, you will all have a link to it in the description and in the YouTube description after the show, because watch it once, watch it the second time, you're singing it by the third time, and you'll have it in your head and it will lift you up the entire time, anytime you need it, and it's a great reminder all the way around. So together we can change the world. And part of the purpose behind this song is the fact that we, as people on this planet, we have the opportunity to give, and we're all really good at giving. We learn that. That's a part of our society today. One of the things we're not as good at is receiving. So part of really being present and showing up and honoring those around us is to be able to receive the gifts that they are giving us. And that takes a little bit of practice, and I every day am reminded of that somehow or another. Today, after about meeting number 5, back to back to back, and I really just needed to stop and sit in my chair for a minute, but before I sat in my chair, I really needed to go use the toilet. Okay, we're going to just get right down to it. Bodily functions, gotta eat, gotta drink, gotta pee. And once that was taken care of and I sat down with my tea that I had made, it said to me, love, compassion, and kindness are the anchors of life. And I really think that that is a strong foundation of what we're going to be talking about tonight, and it ties in so beautifully with the concept of how together we can change the world. So we'll be right back after the open, and we will introduce our guests. And I think what we'll do is I'm just going to talk for another minute. And one of the things that we love about live shows, especially on days when we open up our internet browsers and they look a little different and they act a little different, is that we get to learn all day long. Remember what I said? Love, compassion, and kindness are the anchors of life, and that was after several back-to-back meetings. Holy moly. So to me, when I think about some of this, and then I think about how I am looking every day and the clients that I'm helping and the people that I'm talking to, one of the best things that I can do in the world right now is listen, because not only is that a gift to be able to give, it's also a way to receive what somebody has to say in their heart of hearts. And when Scott comes back and he unmutes and just joins the conversation, he is going to join us. But until then, I'm going to just run with this conversation, and I'm going to introduce to you 3 amazing people that I totally met in a very roundabout, unexpected way, because I came across this video, and John O'Neill reached out to me afterwards, and we had a conversation. And then, before I knew it, I was sitting down and conversing with Debbie and with Will also. So all 3 of you guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Jess plus Scott plus you show. How are you guys?
Great. It's a pleasure.
Great.
Well, thank you, Jess and Scott, for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
Now,
you so much.
I am going to have each one of you, if you would, tell us your name, because Debbie, there's no way I'm going to pronounce your last name correctly, and I would like to hear it a couple more times before I attempt it. And I would love for, just to set the stage for the day, when we think about together we can change the world, what was something that happened in your day today that reminded you of this song and the power of what we can do when we stand together?
Am I up?
You are up.
Okay. Well, the last name is Cinquemani.
Cinquemani. Okay.
Yeah.
Means 5 hands.
Yes, it does. So today, I do have something very specific to relate to, and it's very ironic because it has to do with bullying and a story that my son came home with. And of course, as a mom, you get right away, you want to react and put all those tools in place, take that breath, start remembering together we have to do this calmly, peacefully, and act in kindness. And it's a little tough when an 11-year-old is distraught and telling you these things of these words that he's hearing from somebody else in his class. So we worked through it a little bit, and his confidence is there, which is great, and I think he gets it. I think he gets the message, and he's applying it daily, and I've seen a big change in him. So I know that when other children can practice and put these things into place, together we truly can change the world, and it will come from them. It'll come from the kids as they grow up, and I know that's something that we would love to see.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. John.
Yes, John O'Neill. I'm a school teacher, and I'm reminded every day, I'm reminded daily that, you know, we can help each other and work through situations. I see it every day in the kids in my classroom. It's just a wonderful profession to witness kids helping one another. There are times that we do have challenges, but for the most part, if you model great behavior for the kids and you talk through things with them and work on different situations, it's very rewarding to see the kids get the messages and truly want to help one another. So I'm reminded about that daily.
Excellent. All right, Will, you're up.
I'm Will Rodman, and John O'Neill is my best friend from childhood, and it was through him and his inspiration that we started on this trek. And today I was reminded of it because we have a youth theater out in Long Island that is working with us to bring Letters to Daddy, which is a musical that we created to spread the message of together we can change the world. It's actually one of the featured songs in the musical. They just had a reading over the weekend, and they're going to be organizing, and we're going to be having further conversations. And those children are going to be ambassadors of that message. And we're looking to take that through Long Island and New York, that together we can change the world.
Fabulous. Okay, so now we're going to check in with Scott. I know we ran into a small glitch right at the beginning. Scott, can we hear you?
Well, hopefully you can hear me, and I'm really looking forward to this entire program because the message is so important, and it's so important that we can get it across nowadays. So really looking forward to this.
I love this. So, okay, I want to go back a step because I think we need to, I want to know the inspiration for where this came from. Letters to Daddy is a musical, and I know we're going to link to that and make sure everybody knows where to find out about it. And where did the idea for this musical come from?
I'm going to let John take the first crack at that. John, that was you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess he doesn't want to.
No, I couldn't hear you. I thought you said that you were going to take a crack at it. I'm sorry.
No, he was the inspiration because he is a teacher, and I want him to start the genesis.
Okay. Okay. I have to go back several years ago to one of the students that was in my class. He had difficulty getting along with other children, and you know, one day I called him out into the hallway just to talk to him and just to say I'm here to support him. And he said to me, he said, "Mr. O'Neill, I don't know what else to do." And a light bulb went off in my head just to say, like, we have to teach children how to behave or how to react in different situations, because if they're not, you know, if they don't get it through modeling or through seeing others, then, you know, they're going to struggle and they're going to continue to have poor habits. So that was one of the incidences that really got me thinking that, you know, we need to have programs where kids can be shown how to behave and really receive the messages. So that's when I reached out to Will, who of course is in media, and he could take it from there.
Well, it was very evident that there was going to be a backbone to this, which was rooted in education. But for it to engage children, we were going to have to do it through entertainment. That entertainment was going to be as vital to the educational components. It was balancing the two that became the roots of 4E Productions, which is a company that enlightens, empowers, and enriches everyone. Those were the 4 E's. And our intention really was to raise or address issues and raise consciousness through programs. Letters to Daddy was a musical. It just sort of evolved, but it evolved organically. We started out by trying to figure out what were the ways that we could get our messages across to children. Music is a very powerful tool. So I had a songwriter friend, and we started down the road of developing songs for children with these messages. But then another intricate detail of it was having it be related peer-to-peer. It was actually children singing to other children that was going to become a very powerful component. And through the children's voices, the messages were going to be resonating to an audience of children. And one song turned out to be an amazing exercise, and it just sort of led us down this path. And by the third song, we realized that we might be able to tie these songs addressing individual issues into a whole theme, and then it was going to be a concert, and then eventually it just blossomed into a whole full stage production with a full cast and ensemble. And it debuted, the first rendition of it was in June of 2009 in Orange County, New York. And that's just the beginning of a story that continues to evolve.
And, okay, so there were a couple of things that came out of this. It started from a child brave enough to ask for help because they didn't know what to do, and they felt an environment that was safe and trusting and filled with a respectful love. And I find that very fascinating. And then when we come up against kids that bully, or we come up against kids that act mean or act out in some way, where does that come from? I know Scott had some opinions about that when we were talking about this, but I want to hear from you guys too, Scott and you guys. Where does that come from in a child? This pure light, love, energy that's there.
Well, again, you know, going back to the one student that was in my class, if you just look at that one case, you know, you can imagine, you know, being at his home and witnessing, you know, poor social skills and you know, just a genuine disrespect for one another, and you know, for the student to carry it into the classroom, you know, he needs to see others model that behavior. It needs to be reinforced. It needs to be just part of a person's life, and that's what, you know, our programs are designed to show people. Okay, you know, you can make different choices. You can have, we're going to get into the phrase winfinity in a little while. You can have a winfinity where everyone will benefit in the situation.
So
not just a self-serving. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Scott.
No, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say the theme for our series this entire year is "Me First: The Supreme Unselfishness," and I'm wondering if bullying and that sort of activity is someone who isn't really taking themselves and putting me first, but rather it's a form of which is the me first is a form of self-love, and bullying and so forth would be a form of self-hatred. Could you comment on that?
Well, I think that you know, for a person to have good self-esteem, they have to love themselves. And you know, a lot of times at a young age, kids are just self-serving, and you know, as long as their needs are satisfied, they're fine with that. And you know, as adults, it's our responsibility to teach them that, you know what, you know, you can satisfy your needs, but you also have to have respect for others.
One of the things that we've been fairly or unfairly compared to the Walt Disney Company because of the values that are embedded in our programs. One of the things that I remember Walt Disney saying, a quote I read, was that there's inherent goodness inside of all of us. And the challenge in today's society is that children are bombarded with stimuli. And oftentimes we're seeing the worst of society and the worst actions, and that's what's being thrust into their face. It's a lowest common denominator, that it appeals to. And these children are modeling behaviors that are not necessarily inherent behaviors. So one of the things that we were struck by and compelled to do was target children early stages of development so that they could see that that their thoughts, their actions, their words impact others, and understand and have empathy. And these are not things that are necessarily taught in their daily routines, and not necessarily behaviors that parents are demonstrating that children can model. So, we really were on a crusade or a mission to offer programs, early stages of development, that show the best that's inside of all of us and really ignite that in the individuals.
So are things worse today than they used to be, like when we were growing up? Is it?
I don't know that they're worse, Scott, but I think that we see more because of social media, because of the age that we live in. There's nothing sacred anymore because of what you see on cell phones. Anything can be exposed in an instant.
So the other side of the coin is, do we have the opportunity, because of being able to reach, connect, and so forth, do we have the opportunity to make things better than they were either in the past or they would be otherwise? Is this an opportunity, in other words?
We always believe yes. The landscape may not be level, and part of what our mission is, I think, is to just balance the field a little bit. It's to offer more. You see a lot of great shows on public television that target children up to the age of 5, and then from the ages of 5 to 55, the mainstream is appealing to different interests and appeals that don't necessarily serve the best interests of humanity.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute, the best interest of humanity. Because when I think about when I think about things and what I learned and what was modeled for me was, yes, we all have a little bit of dysfunction that we're working with, but the positive things that I look back in my childhood was really to put other people first. And in putting other people first, that was how we all get along. Well, in that sense, nobody in my house really got along in the grand scheme of things because we moved away from the fact that nobody was happy. We moved in the opposite direction of Winfinity instead of moving towards that. And I'm wondering, if we don't have that in our lives, or we're sitting here recognizing how do we impact things, or how people might look at us, or do we even care how people look at us or think about interacting with us or things like that, where do we find a good balance to make sure we're in check as adults so we are modeling the behavior that we want? One, because it will only improve our own self-esteem. It'll improve our self-love. And the higher our self-esteem and the more we love ourselves, the more love is going to pour out of us, and we will be able to affect change in other people. But if we don't have that resource, or we want to check in, or we want to learn more about that, do you guys have any suggestions or ideas of where to start?
I think it's a moment-by-moment process sometimes where we have to continually ask ourselves, once you feel that resistance or you feel that agitation or frustration building up in you, you question, why am I feeling like this? And you have to realize it's usually some external issue or situation that really is very minor, and that's when we just take it down a notch and realize, okay, we could do this together and work it out. And you feel that energy starting to become more lighter, and it just starts to move quicker, and you feel good. And that's why even if you're in a bad mood, if you just simply smile, it starts to change things. So it's, I think it becomes like a moment-to-moment check when you're in that, when you start getting pulled into that grind, which so many people, as we know,
and if I could just add to that. Okay, great point, Debbie. If I could just add to that, being in the classroom, what I try to do, if I'm addressing some poor behavior, I make it clear to the kids that it's the behavior that I'm addressing. Okay, it's not the individual themselves, it's the behavior. I make that clear with the kids so that they know, like, I care for you, but we need to, talk about what you're doing. So it's very important for the kids, for their self-esteem, to realize that, okay, he does care for me. It's just what I'm doing. So it's just the behavior.
I love that.
And
important. One of the things that I started doing in terms of modeling for Carter and for myself and for the people that I work with is to honor my feelings, and I am feeling whatever I'm feeling. I never ever, I shouldn't say never ever, I have switched towards, and every once in a while it slips out because that's how, we were conditioned. You make me feel. Right? So if we can move away from the you make me feel and just own the fact we feel this way, it doesn't matter why, it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter when, it matters that it is our feeling and we can feel that. And how amazing is it to honor the fact that we can have feelings across the spectrum and own them without affecting other people.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And again, you hit it right on the mark. We have to become aware of that trained thinking, that conditioned thinking that we keep putting out there and how we react. So instead of reacting right away, how are we going to act toward the other person and become conscious of our words that we're putting out there and our expressions that we're putting out there toward people.
And realize that the habits are formed over time. Through conscious awareness, you can form and adapt better behaviors or better attitudes and better actions that you reinforce. And it's just a constant evolution and something that you always have to be aware of.
It's so huge. It's one of the reasons why we don't focus on that word anti-bullying, because we realize that that's where the focus is going to be. People are going to keep that going. They're trained to think that way.
It's sort of like saying to the toddler, don't pull the cat's tail, right?
Okay.
Part of the mission, and it's embodied in Together We Can Change the World, is getting everyone working together towards a common goal. It's what do we want to achieve and putting the focus on that and moving in that direction. And when you unite people in a direction, it's usually where it leads a movement. And one moment builds momentum, and eventually you're going to get to where you want to go.
For those of you just joining us and checking in, this is the Jess plus Scott plus You show. And with us tonight are Debbie and Will and John of 4E Productions, and we are talking about what it means to be giving, to be able to be receiving, and what the heck Winfinity actually is. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I want to get to infinity, but I'll ask my question anyway, and then we can do that. So that's a little bit of a teaser then. I'm wondering does it feel like a little bit of like a tug of war, where you're pulling kids and maybe even yourselves this way, and then there are other forces that are pulling the other way?
Oh, absolutely. I would say every day becomes a tug of war, and if you don't continually raise that awareness and that consciousness to realize not to get pulled, you have to be that one to stand strong so you're not pulled, so that you can continually be that role model and they could look at you and finally get that message and realize, oh, okay, maybe I should act like that.
So what I think I hear you say then, Debbie, it's a tug of war up to a point, but that there's a tipping point. Has this been your observation, the three of you, that at a particular point someone who might be in danger will kind of get it?
I think at some point it becomes a tipping point. For some people it could be immediately. For others it could be years of that continual reinforcement of the good habits and that positive empowerment and enrichment. And some people really need somebody to stand by them to be that strength for them and to be able to basically take those punches for a long time from that person until they really start to change that trained way of being.
Take the punches. Wow, that really bespeaks to not giving up on someone. You have to go back to the well several times. You must have to have a pretty strong constitution in order to keep up the stamina.
Well, Will punches me all the time, but I keep putting up with him.
So what is this Winfinity thing all about?
Oh, hang on, I don't want to go there just yet. I did want to
okay.
that, but now I forgot. Shoot. I was like, oh, wait. If I were to, well, okay, so I want to go back just a little bit. If you said something, Debbie, that I loved, and you were talking about, and Scott, you chimed in with the cat's tail. We don't like to use the term anti-bullying because it keeps the focus on the fact that there is bullying, and we don't get to actually move past it. What are words or phrases, then, that the three of you are drawn to that help people understand if they're looking for, wow, my kid is having a hard time, or, gee, I'm having a hard time with somebody and I'm feeling this disconnect. What do you suggest people look for or think about in terms of the phrasing so that even when they begin their search on how do I investigate, I want to align myself with people to put me in the place of moving past it as I'm in the middle of my situation?
Just one of the things we love to do actually is play with words. And one of the lessons I learned from John really early in the equation is the importance of delivering messages in a positive manner. And an example is, please walk instead of don't run. You know, don't run. All right, you're telling somebody what not to do, but sometimes the issue is I don't know what else to do. So when we created the songs and when we create dialogue in the story, every word is scrutinized in terms of what message is it conveying and how are we positioning it. So throughout the songs, there are messages like people are more than what we see. In the challenges, we get to grow. It all depends on your focus. And all of these things, and sometimes in songs, it gets into your subconscious mind. And it's working in ways that you can't even appreciate on a conscious level. But it's also getting them on a conscious level. And it's very exciting when you know that the power of the words and how you position them in a positive manner does influence people and orient their minds in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, words do have power, don't they?
Yes.
You know, it makes me think of the... Oh, go ahead, Debbie. Excuse me.
Well, specifically for us, when it came to that challenge of bringing the musical and getting people's attention, because it did bring to the surface these issues that children deal with, we understand we use the word bully, we acknowledge that word, but without the anti. That's how we came with the bully free, musical key to bully free. I think people change their perspective when they hear it that way. Right away, it's not that harsh anti, let's get them. You know, when you hear that.
And back to the words and the power of the words, the labels. Sometimes the labels become a burden. So when you're calling somebody a bully, we actually worked with students after one of the performances, and when I asked all the children in the class, how many of you are bullies? Nobody raised their hands. So I asked the question differently. I said, how many of you have ever teased somebody, or how many of you have made fun of somebody, or how many of you have ganged up on? And then all the hands start going up. And it's like, okay, now we can talk about the issues. You don't want to be the bully. The bully is a label. Nobody wants to own up to that. Anti-bullying, like everyone's on that side and you're on a different side. No, we all have to be accountable. We've all bullied, we've all been bullied, and we've all witnessed others being bullied. And it's just part of a society, and it's just being consciously aware of the roles we're playing, but not getting latched onto labels.
I love that, because there are behaviors that act to that, but for whatever reason, right now, that's the bad word, or the undesirable word. Okay. Okay, now, I think I can go towards Winfinity. Plus, I'm sure everybody that's watching is like, come on already. You keep saying this word, but what is it? Now, the first time I heard John say Winfinity, I smiled really big, and I was like, oh, I get that. In my heart of hearts, I get that. So, John, okay, where did you come up with the idea of Winfinity?
You know what? It's just one of those things that came to me in thinking of, you know, having a win-win situation and over a long period of time. of course, the word infinity and win, it just came together. I mean, really, it's one of those things that you can't explain, but it does. I mean, when you really break it down and you really look at the word, you know, what we're on a quest to do is have a winfinity where society benefits from the programs that we put out there, and
the cast
all the things that we've been talking about. The cast benefits,
the audience benefits.
Society benefits, the audience benefits. It's a win-win for everyone. So a winfinity. It's more than just, you know, one-to-one or you know, one source to another source. It's all-encompassing.
I also feel that when you give something good, you receive, and when you receive, you want to give. And then when you give, you're going to receive. So it kind of keeps taking on that unfolding infinity effect.
So when I hear the word winfinity, I think of Trinity for some reason. I also think of a Venn diagram with 3 circles, and the winfinity part is right at the very middle where it's common ground for everyone, and everyone wins in that territory.
Yes, very, very nice way to put that, Scott.
You can design the logo, Scott.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe everyone can design their own logo in their imagination.
Well, that's a cool idea. Now, diving into this, winfinity does not mean everybody gets everything that they may want. Winfinity means that everybody benefits, and how cool is it that when we come together, we might realize, well, or maybe we don't realize, but we feel that the only way to move together as a group is to adjust the way we think. And that opens our eyes to be able to have the opportunity to meet other people where they're at. It was so good, it was met with silence.
Well, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, some of the forces that we see nowadays that we have, and you know, we're not political on this program, but it doesn't seem like there are some institutions. Let's put it this way: there's some institutions in America and in this world where the two sides just don't seem to want to come together and find common ground. I wonder what that's all about.
It's about the power and control. There's always that, somebody always wants that edge, and that's always what's tipping the scale.
So is this part of the lessons and the approach that you take in terms of the materials that you develop and the messages that you deliver?
Yeah, there's always a balance of ego and spirit, if you will. We've been asked for songs to be used for different purposes, and sometimes the organizations aren't aligned to the intentions of the songs in the musical. For instance, one was a politician. Like a politician wanted to use a particular song for a campaign message, and we were very adamantly opposed to it being in favor of one side over another. It's sort of like the messages have to serve they have to be accessible to everyone. It can't be about one side or the other. It's just, you know, it doesn't pick or choose. It's really about trying to find the balance and allowing people to come to it and not be excluded.
Not excluded. Yes. Not excluded.
But they get to choose.
That's right. It is the power of choice. And how amazing is it that when we are given the power to choose, we tend to surprise sometimes ourselves and those around us. And I'm listening to all this, and, you know, I think of winfinity, and one of the reasons I smiled when I first heard it was because I'm like, oh, well, what a cool concept. Now, do I really believe that? Isn't that funny? Because I'm a little bit of a type A personality. I'm not as extreme as some other people that I know, but I do tend towards, I'm going to make my impact on the world, and I'm going to go after what I want, and I'm going to take no prisoners, if you will. And sometimes I get really stubborn. And it's really interesting in my journey and self-evolution to see that all those things are true and okay, except for the take no prisoners part. And yeah, really, even that part, it's all about stubbornness. And once I can recognize when I'm being stubborn, I can still have everything that I want, and other people get to join my party. And that's the coolest thing that I have found in the last, the last 5 to 7 years as I'm on this part of the journey of my life. And when we take the time to go, oh, is that just us, or is that part? Because I think we have this dream that we're on. We have this journey. We have these things we're supposed to do here. And where is that line of going after what we want with understanding that there's a little bit of ego or power or stubbornness that might pop up and rear its head once in a while? Curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jess. We found that we have to remind ourselves that we can't compromise what we're all about, and we have to stay true to what our mission is. And you can't worry about what other people are doing or saying. You just stay true to your mission, and those people that want to follow will follow. And we can't control what the other people that are not on board.
And Winfinity is also about acceptance, that we're all on our own path. And our paths may align now, but that's the other cool thing about the infinity sign. We'll intersect someday. Maybe for a short period of time, maybe for a long period of time. Who knows?
You were going to say something, Debbie?
I think I was, and now I'm not.
I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
Anyway, so
well, for you, yeah, go ahead, Scott. I have a question.
I was just wondering, what does the future hold for you? Where do you see your path going? And in your wildest dreams, where do you see your path going?
Oh, wow.
Well, this mission was started because of one very simple goal. John and I talked about making a difference in one life. If we made a difference in one life, that one life might impact many, many others over generations. And what's really exciting to have come several years down the road and realize that we're in a position right now because we have a musical that's fully formed and it's offered and licensable to schools all over the country, that we can make a difference on millions of lives and millions of generations. So the sky is limitless right now. And I wouldn't even say that we have a singular goal at this point. We just wanted to make a huge difference, and at this point, it's growing.
Well, one singular goal will be to have Letters to Daddy performed at every school nationwide.
Hear, hear.
And when you say at every school, is this elementary, middle school, high school? Is it?
It's adaptable for all three. It really targets elementary and middle school students. It's a stage of life, but it appeals to adult audiences. We've performed it in colleges, and there's no doubt that it would work at a high school production as well.
So, for example, a high school could perform it for the elementary grades.
Exactly.
Is that something?
That's kind of the idea, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take a step back and repeat a few things. The name of the musical is Letters to Daddy. It is geared towards students of all ages, based off of, and it's geared for the three age groups. The next thing I would say is that Together We Can Change the World is one song within that musical, and all of the songs of the musical can be found on your YouTube channel, can they not?
Yes.
Okay, so we can get a sampling of even more of the music. And the next piece of that is knowing that the goal is to work with schools and community organizations that facilitate children and children's programs. Who are the types of people who should be contacting you? So if somebody's watching this and they're going, wow, I really want this, or oh, I think I'm going to share this song and these songs with my child, and they're really excited. Who would need to be the ones to contact you guys to find out more about the musical?
Anyone in a school, an administrator, teacher, school psychologist, social workers, at drama clubs, anyone in those capacities. Also youth theaters, community theaters. Those would be the primary targets.
Now, I've got to say, you guys, for every single person who has listened to Together We Can Change the World, keep that bookmarked and listen to it often. Carter and I, we sing it on the way to school most mornings. He asks for it. He's like, Mama, I want to sing Together We Can Change the World. And it is the first song.
That's awesome.
All the way through, okay?
That's great. I love it.
It's very cool. It's so wonderful.
That was the first one we produced with a choir, and we put a video out there that's pretty powerful. But the other songs of the musical are equally powerful and address messages just as profoundly.
And the cool thing is, it's more than just a musical, is it not? There's one of the things I remember you guys telling me is there's a little bit of work that's involved. There's self-reflection before, during, and after, and I know, Debbie, you were recently telling me that you're now going back. So there's some sort of a statement kids write once they either perform or involved in some way with the musical?
They're I will statements they write before the show is finished. And the I will statement is more than just what I'm doing or what I've done, but what will you do? What will you do that will change the world in essence?
Yeah. Instead of it being a bio, we wanted it to be something that would project the future for them.
Fabulous. Write down the reality as they want it and the change that they want to be. Like that quote, be the change you want to see in the world, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And
we've seen it.
And don't forget to, can you see my little pin? Don't forget to...
Recycle
kindness. Sustainable things, don't you know?
Yeah. All right. So we are coming up on the top of the hour. Our time together is almost over, which I'm really sad about. I'm really, really sad about. I'm wondering if you guys would each take some time and tell us where can we connect with you so that anybody who wants to continue this conversation afterwards. By the way, anybody who is on Google+, they are all connected to the Jess plus Scott plus You show. They're also all are connected to me, so you guys can come find them on Google+. But where else besides that might somebody get in touch with you guys?
Well, they can call our number or reach us on our Facebook site.
And our website, letterstodaddy.com. You can get us there as well.
You can, yes.
Are we allowed to give out Debbie's home phone number?
I knew that was coming.
No.
No.
I think that's up to Debbie. Yeah. And is that Winfinity? I'm not quite sure. Or is that peer pressure? One of the two. Oh, that's really cool. I almost want to sing the song going out because I know this by heart. And if not, you guys, I'm not going to. I actually probably won't sing unless Scott will sing with me.
Will sing with you too. That's great.
we could follow along.
Just bring people down.
No, it won't bring people down. How about, okay, everybody, we will not sing because it's very powerful, and we want your impression to be from the amazing choir that was brought together for this video that was produced for YouTube, for us.
And for those who are watching with the event page, we had the song as the trailer ahead of time, and we'll make sure that it's posted in the comment stream so that you can return to it and bookmark it and return to it time and time again. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. I have to say, this is an amazing opportunity for us to really take a look at ourselves, take a look at our own behavior, and really take a chance to put our behavior first so that our heart can shine the brightest, so that we can sparkle and shine and be an example for others. The Jess plus Scott plus You Season 2, which is about the supreme unselfishness and putting yourself first, was a core message of our conversation tonight. The conversations that we had with John and Will and Debbie talk about some amazing people and that are so passionate about their goals and their life journey and the ability to positively impact those around them. Thank you to Scott from the Scott Treatment. And Scott helps businesses capture the potential and the power of video through post-production find out more at thescotttreatment.com. And I'm Jess Dewell, working with business leaders who want to be so far ahead in the industry that you set the standard. Let's connect at jessicadewell.com. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.